Alright, so this is a game that I had in the bat chat, the tier 10 French medium on Redshire. And so in general, what I try to do is play the middle here and try to get an idea of what their dispersion is like, how many tanks they have here, and then that gives you a good opportunity to watch what your team does and figure out how to react to that. So really what this video does is highlights a couple of things. One is that, how do you play that early game? And two, what happens if one of your flank fails pretty badly? How do you have a chance to compensate for that? So right off the bat, and I say this a lot in the stream, but if you go over to this hill early, you usually don't really do anything. You're kind of useless to the team until somebody loses. You see that we're sending a lot of 10s this way, and so that's something that I'm keeping an eye on. We're also sending our artillery out that way, which I would really highly recommend not doing. And so I'm hanging out here for a little bit trying to get some intel. So we know that they sent an Indian Panzer across, but that's really all that we've seen cross over there so far. We know that they have a JPE over here. This 140, he was trying to get shots on that Type 62, but that's not really the best thing to do. You might as well just let other players on your team shoot him rather than he took 600 to 800 damage to get one shot of damage on the Type 62. So we know that they've got, an E5, they've got a bunch of tanks on this spine, which is good for them, but they don't really have that much out here. And as I've often said on this map, is the 1-line, 4-line have a good synergy. Having a lot of guys on the 4-line but nobody on the 1-line doesn't really help you that much. And so we have all of our heavies, all 4 of our 10s over here, which is okay. I really don't like this area in particular. I think it's a lot like the southeast area on Sacred Valley. If you've ever watched I have a highlight of the 4202 on Sacred Valley. I think it's kind of like that area where it's a decent enough area to fight, but whichever side wins has to push through an open field and it's really easy to shoot them, so that area actually becomes inconsequential. But what we'll see is that these guys will all die without really doing that much damage. Like all 4 of these tier 10s combined for 4,000 damage, which is not what you want to see out of your tier 10s. And so this 1375 that's up here is doing a really good job of keeping these guys lit. And so if anybody was actually paying attention, they would be able to shoot them. Again, this particular position over here, it's not really that great for early game firing. So these guys really don't do much in the early game, and I think even by the end of the game, because they don't really move that much, I think the PTA moves up here or something like that, they only do like 3,000 damage from their 3 tanks. So it's not really a good position. Where you want to be is kind of where this E75 and this waffle is, or where these guys are. It's that, again, the 1-line, 4-line synergy. As this E75 pushes down, this 1375 is just going to keep these guys lit, and this E75 is just going to get free shots on these guys. And so you see these guys over here on their team are getting whittled down, and so really as long as they're lit, you're fine. And then see this E100, he's pushing over, so he's going to be a threat to the 1375, and you'll see the 1375 recognize that, so he'll leave. But you see that no one else comes with the E100, so it's really easy for me to just support the 1375 by taking out the E100. Right, and the 1375 did the smart thing. He just left. He wasn't going to sit there and try to brawl with an E100. Right, but nobody else is coming over. And see, the 1375 immediately comes right back. And because he was doing a bang-up job over here already. And then they have an IS-7 doing something in the middle here. Unfortunately, I'm not loaded. And I kind of want to get out of this ditch right here. It's good enough for the 1375 because he has the acceleration to get out of there. I have decent acceleration, but I don't want to get stuck in here if I can possibly help it. And then so as I creeped up there, the E5 shot me in the back, and the 704 was coming over. And then you'll see that down here our E75 got lit, but see how low just that guy's gotten most of these guys. So these guys are, you know, the E5 and the 704 are one shot. And I'm going to take this opportunity to get out of this ditch, because again, this is not a really good place for us to be right now. We've completely lost this side, and those guys really didn't do that much damage. So now these guys have to make this trek through the base, and you see that our waffle's coming around the back. So we're going to have this area covered, because they still have to push, you know, around this corner or over this hill, and it's going to be difficult for them to take this ground very easily. And so we're only down like, well, not only, like 4,000 or 5,000 health here. And then it would be nice if we had our artillery right about now. Waffle's still on his way. I think he's reloading anyways. These guys, I'm not sure where they're going. You can probably get the best shots from either where the Waffle is going or in this general area where I'm at. Depending if you have enough depression. And I'm just gonna light this guy, and you'll see that the Waffle can just own him. And then this E5 is coming up underneath, which is a smart move to do, right? And then they have some guys over here so that these two guys can have sort of synergy of shooting at this guy, but the artillery gets him anyways, so that doesn't really matter. And then you see the 140 pushed in on our, or it's about to push in. Oh, no, I'm sorry, it was the other way around. I think one of this 140 pushes in on that guy, or something. Or maybe I'm misremembering that. Okay, so this E5 and this 140 are going to end up in the same place. So I'm just waiting for my reload. I figure, I'm pretty sure the 140 is still in the same area. I actually went a little bit early. And side turret, and then just hull. And you see the JPE coming up behind him, so I back up. Oh yeah, here's where the 140 dies. And so see how the 140 is on the flank of the JPE? So even if I wasn't reloading, it's fine. I don't need to deal with the JPE. I can let the 140 deal with them. And then so I'm thinking about going to find the mouse already. And then there already kills our T-62. I'm not exactly sure where he was, but he probably should have put the JPE, you know, if he could, between himself and the artillery. But it's not really that big of a deal. So see, this mouse has crept up, but the Waffle is doing a good job of keeping the mouse at bay. And then I don't know where the Conqueror is yet, although I think I light him right here. So I see that he's in that ditch. He doesn't light me. So basically I'm threading the needle between where the Conqueror can light me and where the mouse can light me. And so the idea is that if I get easy shots on the mouse, I'll take it. I do have side profile, but I can't really stop here because the Conqueror will have shots on me. The mouse does light me, which was expected. But since I know the Conqueror's here and the mouse is here, that leaves this entire route over here clear to go kill the artillery. And then the Conqueror was spotted over by the Waffle. They had an opportunity to charge the Waffle, but they decided not to. The Conqueror is still full health, but it's kind of intimidating when a Waffle can still clip you out before you reload. So I want to try to figure out where the Conqueror is, and so it turns out that he's on this little hill here. And so I can be opportunistic with my shots here and just take some, because I have more than enough shells to kill these guys. But ideally what I want to do is get at least one shot of damage on the Conqueror and then just get away and then reload. That way the next time I see him I can just clip him out. Whereas the odds of me clipping him out with just one clip, very, very low. Not very, very low, but somewhat low. Right, and I also know that the Conqueror is now committed to this side, which means the mouse is sort of on his own. And that shot side turret, and then side hull. And then it's just reload and wait. And then at this point, the best thing for the Conqueror to do would be to go and hide. So the Waffle is going to go up the middle, and my plan is to go over to the one line just to check if he went over there. And then one of us spots him there. I'm not exactly sure who, but I don't get lit. He's headed over towards the Waffle side. The Waffle gets a shot on him, so I know that his turret's going to be faced towards the Waffle. Not that it really matters at this point, because I can clip him out before he has an opportunity. And then, so really, a large part of the story is that these guys lost over here pretty badly, which happens. I mean, even though there was a lot of weight and a lot of armor there, it sucked that we lost our arty over here as well, because that could have made a difference. But what you'll see is that even though their team that pushed through here didn't really lose that much health pushing through that point, once they got over here, we pretty much just owned them for free. I mean, we lost I think it was the Leo 1 in fighting them, and the 1375 because he got lit on that hill and wasn't able to get out in time. But once they sort of crossed this area over here, it was really easy to own them. So that's why I always say that this place it's not really hugely consequential. It's not really strategically important. It's much more difficult to push through from the south going north. It's actually slightly easier going from the north to the south. So if those guys won over there, because you can go through these buildings in order to get there, and then there's this hill right here that you can use. What they wanted to do was sort of like what that E5 did, was to come more through the middle, or even back and up through the middle like that, and that would have been much stronger, because basically it allowed, just between me and the Waffle, and to a lesser extent that 140, it allowed us to basically own them as they came in. Oh man, stupid Firefox is doing that thing again where it's not working. Hang on. Wait, I gotta restart my Firefox. There we go. Okay, and so essentially what ended up happening was, well, it was nicely we were able to do, 7.6k damage, and a large part of that again is utilizing the clip, right? Jumping that E100 when he was on the when he pushed into the first valley and had no support, right? The jumping on that guy, knowing that which guys you can clip out and which guys you just have to try to get a shot or two of damage on and then get away, and then you'll come back for them later, sort of thing. That becomes really important. The Waffle played a key role in that game of doing a lot of damage. If he had moved up that one line earlier to where that E75 was, that would have been fantastic. But you know, we were able to whittle their hill down enough that it made a pretty large difference in terms of when they pushed later, they were pretty weak, and that made it easier to take them out. And the other thing is that particularly when you're in a really mobile tank, you want to be able to relocate and see gaps. Like if you know, for example, when that Conqueror, when I knew where the Conqueror was and when I knew where the Mouse was, I knew that I had a path to take to get to the artillery. And so it's recognizing little things like that will certainly help you out a lot in being successful, particularly in faster tanks. So I hope that was helpful in explaining the sort of rationale of what you do, and particularly on this map. If one flank loses, you know, all is not necessarily lost. If you set up a good defense, it's still really hard for them to push in. And so I hope that you don't give up if you're down 5,000 health late in the game. Because it certainly, you can come back from it if you position yourself correctly, or, you know, especially if you have teammates who position themselves correctly. So I hope that was helpful, and thanks for watching.